Hello and welcome. I'm Garima, and joining me on the dais today is Mr. Rangnath Dubey, President of Operations at Gujarat Fluorochemicals Limited. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me today. It's such an honor to have you here with me.
Thank you, Garima. Thanks a lot for inviting me to this dais. And I am really privileged and honored to be on as a part of your invitation.
All
Thank you.
my pleasure, sir. All my pleasure. So let's begin with your story. What has been your motivation behind joining this amazing industrial landscape?
See, basically, I was born in a small town. It was more of a village. It was called Dimapur. It's a small city in Nagaland.
Mm-hmm.
So we were basically migrants from North India, settled in Nagaland. Means part of it was part of Assam in 60s, and then it became another state, Nagaland.
Right.
So most of the people from North India, Bihar and UP, most of the people, migrant laborers, went there and settled. So my father was a priest in a temple, a small temple in the town, Dimapur.
Mm-hmm.
So in Assam, as you know, mostly there is oil industry only, oil and refinery.
Right.
Except that there is no major industry in Northeast. Tea industry is of course there.
Mm-hmm.
Tea and oil, these are the two major sources of income in Northeast. So around me there are all oil fields. So the basic interest as a child was to become an engineer, because at that time when I passed out in 1984 from school,
Mm-hmm.
people would think of only two professions, doctors and engineers.
Right.
And my father was very much keen that I should go to engineering background, so to engineer, to become an engineer. And also I was very much interested in chemistry part of it. So that's why I chose chemical engineering, because I was very keen in organic science, organic chemistry, and I wanted to apply it in my fields. That's how I chose chemical engineering, and
Wow.
I became a chemical engineer.
Wow, sir.
So that was the first part. And then through the campus, I was selected in a small cement firm that was called Vinay Cement.
Mm-hmm.
It was in North Kachar Hills, hilly area. So I worked there for 3 months. But before that, I had already appeared for All India entrance examination in Indian Oil Corporation. Those days, Indian Oil Corporation, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, ONGC, Oil and Natural Gas Commission, it used to be called, Engineers India Limited, Steel Authority of India Limited. These 4 or 5 companies were the dream companies for the chemical engineers.
Right.
So
Right.
I had also appeared for interview for the written examination in Indian Oil Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I joined cement company, I got the call for interview, and also appeared for the interview and got selected. So
Wow.
I was one of the 4 chemical engineers in that batch who were selected. It was in the year 1992. So I joined Indian Oil Corporation. I was allotted to Assam Oil Division. In Indian Oil Corporation, there are many divisions. So I was allocated to Indian Assam Oil Division, and I joined Digboi Refinery,
Mm-hmm.
part of graduate engineer training program. So there I was. So this is how my journey with oil industry started.
Right, sir. Right, sir. And also, I'm particularly curious to understand how have you seen the region of Assam particularly developing in terms of industries and specifically the oil and gas industry?
See, when I started my career, Digboi Refinery was a very old refinery, and you know that it has been 100-year-old refinery. So all the technology used that time was old technology.
Mm-hmm.
So when I joined since 1992, lot of revamps, lot of new projects have taken place, and the refinery since then has been totally modernized.
Mm-hmm.
All the old plants which were there have been scrapped by now.
Right.
The capacity has also been enhanced.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, I was also part of their modernization project when they started modernization. So they started revamping the crude distillation plant, setting up a new crude distillation plant. Then the other downstream processes like delayed coker,
Mm-hmm.
part of their modernization team. And
Right.
they took the modernization revamp project in a big way. And
Mm-hmm.
whole refinery was modernized. So by 2002, 2003, the entire refinery was modernized and new sets of plants were established.
Right. Right. And so, talking about modernization, oil and gas 4.0 has gained ground and it's
Yes.
become an important focal point of discussion in all the major conferences that we have today. How are you looking at oil and gas 4.0, and what does it mean for you when we talk about operations, technology, and workforce in the industry?
See, Industry 4.0 will definitely provide lot of opportunities for the oil and gas industry and also challenges also.
Right.
Why it is so important? See, now connectivity is a major focus area everywhere. See, with COVID-19, we have already seen that the supply chains have been badly disrupted.
Right.
So crude price volatility was there. You have seen the crude price became negative one day.
Right.
So how to manage these supply chains, these volatile supply chains in these turbulent times
Mhm.
is possible only through Industry 4.0. That GPS system, connectivity with the tankers
Mhm.
who bring the crude oil, large VLCCs, where they are located, how to bring them, what is the production in the oil fields which are located in the offshore platforms, onshore platforms, what is the daily production. So if we are connected and if the information flows real time, we will be knowing how much supply is there and how much time it takes in the real time to reach the refinery or the area where the consumption will be there.
Mhm.
Not possible nowadays without using already the impact of industry 4.0 is there and people have already started companies like Shell, Aramco, they have already started to some extent.
Mhm.
Our Indian Oil have also started. So I was talking this from the upstream side. Now from the refinery side of also, if you have multiple refineries located in the different areas, for example, Indian Oil,
Mhm.
then it is also very critical to know which refinery will produce what and what amount.
Right.
And that is also possible only when you have the ERP systems, when you have the supply chain properly coordination is there, which type of crude to process in real time. So all these things are happening and happening at a fast pace because of implementation of advanced technologies like advanced ERP systems.
Mhm.
Not only this, now after production going to from refinery to the terminals also has to be managed in real time because we have to know the step availability of petrol, diesel in the different terminals of the country, so
Mhm.
that any eventuality can be managed very fast. A stockout situation can be avoided. It was done earlier also, but
Mhm.
with the advent of advanced technologies, it can be managed in a very nice way.
Mhm.
What I'm trying to tell you is that upstream, midstream, downstream, everywhere the impact of 4.0 is visible.
Mhm.
It will be going forward in the coming days. It will be going to be more and more. So the companies which are not adopting 4.0 will be definitely left behind.
Mhm.
No other way but to adopt Industry 4.0 in the coming days.
Right, right. And now, sir, tell us a bit about your current role at Gujarat Fluorochemicals
In the
Limited.
current role, actually, I have been recruited as president.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I was responsible for setting up a greenfield project. Is coming up in the Dahej area. It is around 15 kilometers from the existing site, which is our mother plant. So from that site, it is around 15 kilometers. We are setting up a totally new site. Same type of products which are there in the existing plant will be established here. We have already set up one plant with full-fledged utilities and effluent treatment plant. And within 2-3 years, we are going to expand that to have a similar kind of expansion like the Dahej. We call it Dahej, the mother original plant, and that is called Dahej.
Right, right. And sir, if we go a bit back in time and we talk about your previous experiences and your career path, because you have worked with such major names in the oil and gas industry, how has your experience been? And if we have to talk about some particular challenges that you have observed closely in the industry, what would those be?
See, I started my career as in oil industry with Indian Oil.
Yes.
I worked in various plants of Indian Oil, in oil, even terminal also. 1 year I was in terminal. Then I moved to Panipat refinery. I worked there in their expansion project. So after Panipat refinery, I thought that I have spent already 14 years in Indian Oil in public sector. Unfortunately, that time another project was coming up in private sector, SR Oil. You know the story of SR Oil. The project was stalled for around 10 years due to cyclone and some other issues. That time SR Oil was setting up a greenfield project in Jamnagar. Actually, the place is called Vadinar. So, and they were looking for experienced people. So they also approached me. I was one of the few people in operations who joined SR Oil. It was the most challenging assignment of my life because all the equipments, major equipments had been purchased and had been lying on the seashore for around 10 years. So revamping these equipments, revitalizing them, starting up a greenfield project. That time, the crude distillation plant which we set up, the column was highest in the world, 97 meters high. So setting up a greenfield project of a large size with 10, at that time it was 10 million tons per annum crude distillation unit. And all the downstream facilities like hydrotreater, like fluidized cracking, catalytic cracker, sulfur plant. So all these plants were set up in a span of 1.5 years. And it was really a challenge because we had recruited people from various industries, chemical industries, fertilizers, pharma, the people who are less experienced. Only few people were there with the refinery background. Training and developing them to match to the refinery standards, as well as commissioning the plants in a given time frame was really challenging.
Right.
The people who were there, the leadership was committed, and it was a tremendous support from the promoter directors, promote owners, and we really commissioned the plants very smoothly. And it is really very satisfying looking back that how these plants were commissioned. When I was the plant manager of the hydrotreater plant, I had got around 25 people. Out of them, only 4 to 5 people, including me, were experienced guys. All other guys were very fresh from college and they had joined this plant as a graduate engineer trainees. So from the trainees to train and develop them as well as involve them in commissioning and startup of the plant was a challenge. In the first half, we used to do the training sessions for them, explain them the PNIDs, explain them the plant layout, and the second half they will be involved in flushing and other commissioning activities. So like this, we did it for 4-5 months, and the plants were commissioned very smoothly. I am talking of hydrotreater plants in the South Loop.
Right.
So it was really the most challenging part of my career.
Right, sir.
Then I moved to, because Birla Group had launched a program which was called First Batch Global Manufacturing Leadership Program. They were recruiting people with age of 35 to 45 with a motive to nurture them to become future leaders. So it was a very, very rigorous program of selection. There were 6 steps of selection, six, and at every stage we could be eliminated. So I got through, and 4 of us were selected, and we went through the full familiarization program. I went to almost all the chemical plants of the Birla Group in India. Rehla, Renukut, Vilayat, then you can say in south also Kadalur, then there is one plant in Nagda. So all the plants in Birla I went through. I saw their processes, technologies. I also went to Indogul Fertilizers in Jagdishpur. I was assigned to Thailand units, their Thailand units. I was in Thai sulfides. I was in Thai peroxides. I was in Thai epoxies. So really that 1.5 year period was, means in terms of learning, it was the most beautiful phase of my life. I left Birla Group due to some health issues, because I was facing some health issues. And then I joined ADNOC, Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. There I spent almost 6 years. From the design of the CBDC project, it is called Carbon Black and Delete Cooker project, right till operations of the project. And from almost 6 years I spent there. It was also a very different challenge, unique challenge, because the culture is different. You have people of different nationalities from India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, then Philippines, Indonesia. In my plant, there were people from 20 nationalities.
Wow.
How to integrate them, how to bring them to ADNOC culture, it was really a challenge. But we succeeded because we integrated and we commissioned all the plants. There were total 11 process plants there. Other than utilities and ETP, there were totally 11 plants, and we commissioned them successfully one by one. And 2018 end, I left because my family wanted me to go back to India because my father's health was not good at that time. So that's why I left ADNOC to join Gujarat Fluorochemicals Limited as president, because they were launching this greenfield project.
Right, sir.
So now you know about me.
Yes, sir. It's been a beautiful journey. It's been a beautiful journey, I would say.
Actually, I have loved challenges all throughout my life. I wanted always to do something unique, something different. If you see the trend, normally people who are working in Indian Oil, ONGC, they will not leave public sector job to join private sector.
Right, right.
But I took that challenge, and when I left Indian Oil, people were asking me, people were surprised. Are you crazy? You have left Indian Oil, you are going to leave a public sector company. I thought, okay, not an issue. I want to explore the world. And that's why I got opportunities also. Till now, I have visited more than 20-25 countries for this business negotiations, technical reviews, and this. And this is what I like to enjoy. I want to travel. And by grace of God, the companies have given me good opportunities to move around.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. And now listening to your story and your exposure to different parts of the world, I would like to understand from you, how do you look at the blend of people and technology in the industry?
See, in refinery industry, if I compare, if I raise the question like this, that what is the difference between refinery and chemical industries? See, both the industries have different sort of challenges. In refineries, the processes are developed. The processes are much more automated and standardized. The systems there are much more robust because the scale is huge. It's a huge scale. Chemical industries in India still have to go as a general in long way to match the standards of process safety, to match the standards of behavioral safety which the refineries have. Number one. In terms of people capabilities also, of course, the quality of engineers, which a public sector company like Indian Oil is far better compared to what the in general. I'm taking if you say in general, chemical industry has. So and the automation level is also very very high in the refinery industries.
Right.
So safety awareness in general is very very high. So these are some of the differences. Having said that, I also see that the chemical industry in India has picked up in a large way. Is going on. People's knowledge has really caught up like anything. There is an understanding among the people that process safety has to be given topmost priority.
Right.
Environmental awareness in India has increased like anything. They know that the government has become very strict as far as pollution norms are concerned. So there is a cultural change going on in chemical industries also, and we will find the impact of this change in the coming years.
Right. Right, sir. And any particular trends that you are looking at which the Indian oil and gas industry should be watching out for in 2020?
See, one thing is the crude oil price volatility. You have already seen the crude oil price volatility.
Right.
See the crude oil price 5 months back, and if you see the crude oil price, it has come down, then now again gone up. So that is one thing which Indian oil industry has to be very watchful for. And whatever wasteful expenditure is there in the industry has to be minimized, because there is no other way other than cost reduction. Technologies have to be modernized in line with the world standards. So these are some of the trends which have come up, and also the process safety awareness, process safety management, because even a small process safety incident can impact your profitability like anything, and also damage your reputation.
Right.
We all know about the British gas case, petroleum, what happened there.
Yes.
So the industry has to be on top of this situation, and all the precautions, all the things have to be taken care by the industry.
Right.
It is possible only when the people are sensitized, because if you see the root cause of anything, ultimately it comes down to people also.
Right.
In hardware also, why hardware failure is there? Because somebody selected the wrong hardware, or the hardware was malfunctioning because preventive maintenance or predictive maintenance was not there. So behind the back of everything, there is a person responsible for it. And if we sensitize the person, if the person is competent and he is aware and he is empowered, then definitely things will improve. So this is the message that I want to give to oil and gas industry.
Absolutely, sir. And going by your experience, you have observed previous downturns as well in the industry. And now, if we look at COVID-19, how do you think this crisis is different from the rest, or where do you see any common ground?
See, every crisis also brings in it the seed of opportunity.
Right.
This crisis is little bit different because of the time frame. Time frame has extended. Earlier we thought that the crisis would be over within 3 months. Now we are seeing a time span something of 6 to 9 months, where we are hopeful. We are not sure that the crisis will be over within 9 months also.
Right.
So in terms of time span, of course, the crisis is unprecedented, and it has impacted so many countries around the globe. That is also, the scale is unprecedented. I can only imagine a situation of Great Depression, which was or Spanish flu, which was comparable to this.
Right.
Other than that, there was no situation which has impacted so many countries. So this is a challenging time, but every challenge brings opportunities for the industries. So the industries have realized that improving efficiency, improving productivity, and lowering the operation cost is the only way to succeed.
Right.
So also that the countries have realized that due to this supply chain disruptions, they cannot depend on one country. For example, they cannot depend on China. So sourcing has to be from the different countries. So these realizations have come, and I am sure that our country, our industry will come out stronger from this setback, because we were also depending to a large extent on only one source,
Right.
China. But now people have started diversifying. It will take time. It's not a thing of one day which will happen in one day. Over a couple of years, it will happen. But it will be good for the industry in the long term. So
Right.
I think the industry have learned a lot of lessons from this crisis.
Absolutely, sir. And in the same context, what is your message for the younger generation who is seeking a career in the oil and gas industry, but whatever is happening in the current environment, it's a lot to take in for them. It's quite overwhelming for them, and they might be confused that all that is going around, it would affect their decisions to make the right choice for their career. So, and some of them are apprehensive whether this is the right time to launch their career in oil and gas. What would your message be for them?
See, the message for them is that only one thing that I want to tell the youngsters is that follow your passion. If you have passion, then you will definitely excel in the job you are doing.
Right.
Because as people say that this your class is permanent, your form is temporary. So if you have class, if you have got passion to do something, definitely you will excel, you will succeed in that particular area. Having said that, we have to also remember that we have to develop newer skills. Newer skill in terms of this, as you said, industry 4, Internet of Things, process safety management, these tools, these different technologies, new technologies which are coming up, like hydrofining, oil and gas. In that upstream also there are many new technologies which have come up. So the youngsters should be aware of these technologies and try to learn these technologies as far as possible, because now the employability is increasing. Now Indian refining industry and Indian oil and gas industry is also as compared to the best in the world.
Right.
So if you can get into Indian oil and gas, or let us say ONGC, your horizons are unlimited. You can switch over your job to any country, any multinational company at any point of time. Okay, today the market is down, but very soon, within a period of 2 to 3 months, again it will be going up only. So
Right.
just no need to lose hope. Keep working hard. Try to learn as much skills as possible, and focus on the upcoming skills. So this is my message to the youngsters.
Yes, sir. Very
It will always
inspiring.
be there, at least 50 years, next 50 years it
Yes.
is going to be there.
Yes, yes, absolutely, sir. Sir, but there's also this issue of massive job cuts and layoffs that is happening across the industry, and that really breaks our heart. What would you tell them, to the people who are losing their jobs and are feeling dejected, demotivated? What should they focus upon to thrive through this period?
See, when there is a job cut and somebody loses the job, we should always remember that it is for his own good. Definitely something better is there in store for him, and one should never lose hope because he has lost the job. Yes, the times are difficult. At the times, he may feel down, but one should always remember that tough times do not last. Tough men do. So you have to always have hope, keep on trying, and definitely the success will be yours. Of
Right.
course, in the time when you are desperate, you have to learn new skills, try to brush up your fundamentals, and develop the positive attitude. This only is going to carry you forward.
Right, sir. And on this note, how do you look back at your journey, and what are some of the new milestones you are looking forward to?
See, I'm till now, I have spent 28 years of my career in oil and gas and chemical industry. I am hugely satisfied with the journey so far. I am going to carry forward in the next coming years also. Try new industries, new chemicals. Who knows where the future is? Someday I might end up being an entrepreneur also. So hope is always there. We should always think positive, think of betterment, and think that the best is yet to come. I always believe that the best is yet to come. So it applies for me also. I hope that best is yet to come.
Absolutely, sir. I wish you all the best, and thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much for joining me today, sharing your story and helping us understand the industry in so much depth, and your outlook towards the current crisis and your positive message, which is very inspiring and important if we look at the current dynamics. Thank you so much once again, sir.
Thank you, Garima. Thanks for inviting me once again. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.